Hello Facebook, hello YouTube, how's everybody today? Very nice to be back with you. I was just saying to our friends over on Instagram here that we've got a bit of a deep dive today into nutrition, talking about liposomes, delivery systems, all sorts of interesting things, clinical studies, evidence-based as always. So you might need to grab a pen and paper. Yeah, hi, nice to see you all. Hello, hi from Dubai. My Lily, she's heading off to Dubai shortly with her cell return. Grace, you've got your pen and paper. Well done. Thanks for paying attention. Hello from the Scottish Highlands. What's the weather doing with you? I did look at the weather report actually. It seemed that the UK's got quite a bit of sun, which is nice. Lots of natural vitamin D, very important for our immune system, for our dopamine, all of that. Oh, I've just realised looking at myself, I haven't got my lippy on. Did you love Rupert? On Tuesday, did you follow the tutorial? I've got one of his lip glosses here, so I might just give myself a... that's better. Such a pretty shade, this one. This is, what is this? Minx. Minx by name. Minx by nature? Don't know, maybe. Anyway, pretty, isn't it, that one? Delilah. And we do still have the 20%. Liz loves on everything on Delilah, which was good. Joe says it's sunny in Berkshire. Dolores in Cape Town. Hi. Bet it's sunny with you. When am I back, Sue? I'm back in a few weeks. I've got a few more trips to do, a few more bits of research. I've got a podcast to record. I think you're a bit skew, aren't you, Facebook? Let me just see if I can move you around a little bit. Hopefully that's good. Yeah, I'm recording a podcast with my lovely friend Alex Bell, all about pesticides and organic veg, because that is a big issue. Oh, best places to stay in Kenya. You're about to book a trip, are you? Great. Take a look at Specialized Safaris. Specialized Safaris, that's good friends of mine, Mikey and Tanya Carr-Hartley. They have amazing camps. They also own Giraffe Manor in Nairobi. They do a lot of conservation. I'm going to be posting about conservation actually at the weekend. So if you're a giraffe fan, stay tuned for that, because there's an awful lot to be saying on that. Perry, it's sunny in Ilford. Very glad to hear. And thanks for all the hearts, sending you some back. So today I'm going to be joined by Dr. Sophie Schotter, and we're going to talk about Ultrient C and liposome technology. And this is something that I've covered before. We've talked about it in this Earle Wellbeing magazine. We've talked about it online, and I did a podcast with Dr. Levy, you may remember, talking specifically about vitamin C. And it's kind of a bit of a Cinderella nutrient, I think. We don't really talk very much about it. We kind of think, well, we get plenty of vitamin C in our diet from our fruits and veggies and all of that. But it's a really, really fundamental vitamin, and I'm really looking forward to hearing a little bit more about it and why it's so important and how it works with other nutrients to keep us well. Now, we do have, if you're interested, on Ultrient Official, we do have 10% off. And that's at abundanceandhealth.com. I know Rachel, hi, you're on Facebook. You'll pop all the links up for us. And that's really good, actually, because these things can be quite pricey. So very nice to have a little bit of money off, isn't it, if you want. Yeah, of course, lots. Yeah, Perry, I should be talking about that. You've got your Ultrient C with you. Excellent. Well, let's see if we can get Dr. Sophie in the house. I think, oh, Grace saying she was recently reading about vitamin C and dark circles, yeah, under the eyes. Very interesting, actually, the role of vitamin C and skin, and we'll be talking about that, particularly in relation to aging. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, lovely to join you.
Very nice to have you with us. Where are you talking to us from?
I'm sitting in my clinic in Kent, so in lovely rural England.
Nice. Is the sun shining on you?
It's gorgeous.
Is it?
Perfect spring day, yeah.
Excellent. I'm so looking forward to coming back. I was saying, it's great to be away, but, particularly when you're so far away on the equator, you don't really get the seasons. So,
yeah.
I always love seeing
Where are
the
you at the moment?
crocuses and stuff. Say again?
Where are you at the moment?
I'm in Kenya. So, I've got family connections over here. And I haven't been able to get here for a couple of years, obviously, because of travel restrictions. So I've been saving up lots and lots of trips. I've got various charity connections, women's groups that I work with and advocate for. And yeah, my son's over here, so it's been really nice to connect with him. And of course, now we're all online. I can be here. you can be in your clinic in Kent, everybody can be wherever. We've already had people join us from Cape Town and the Outer Hebrides and all sorts.
Amazing.
So it's lovely, this whole kind of global family just comes together, which is so nice.
Yeah.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty of liposome technology and supplements and all of that, can you give us a little kind of snapshot of your background so that we know kind of who you are and what your research is focused on?
So I'm an aesthetic doctor full-time. I have an NHS background, actually, in anaesthetics and intensive care, which came in useful through COVID. And I left nearly 8 years ago now and set up a skin clinic in Kent, and I also work in Harley Street. And so I spend, and I guess probably a couple of years into my aesthetic business, I really realised I was only treating half the person by just thinking outside in.
Yeah.
So it became much more well-being focused, hormone focused, supplement, everything kind of, it's all links together. It's
all related, isn't it? Yeah, you can't exactly separate it out. Inside out beauty, that's what I've always talked about, actually. So I've got a bit of a wobbly stand here. I'm just making sure it doesn't fall over. There we go.
No problem.
So what's your particular interest with vitamin C and the skin? Why do you consider that to be such an important nutrient?
Vitamin C, when we talk about skin vitamins, it's A and C that people always talk about. And many people realise the benefits of a good vitamin C as a topical product for skin. It's always been one of my favourites if someone's lacking glow and that kind of the radiance. So I love it for brides, for example. If they want to glow on the wedding day, really not in. But not many people really talk about the importance of a vitamin C supplement for skin health as well.
Yeah.
For me, it's one of the easiest wins, including it inside and out.
Yeah, fantastic. Are you able to turn your volume up just a fraction? I'm just hoping that our friends on Facebook and YouTube can hear you okay. I've turned mine up to max. Obviously, they can't see you. But
How's that?
Yeah, I think that's a wee bit better. Yeah, well done.
Better. Moved a bit closer as well.
Well done. In terms of kind of topical vitamin C, I think we're seeing a lot more of vitamin C being added to things like serums and treatment masks, you know, particularly for brightening. And is that your experience? Can it actually, on the surface of the skin, can it really help to brighten it?
Absolutely. I think it's not the miracle fix for pigmentation that people might have. It's not on its own anyway. But for brightness, radiance, glow, it's brilliant. But if you're breakout prone, you need to be a little bit more careful because it's often oil-based.
Okay, yeah. And it's quite hard to stabilise, isn't it, vitamin C? Because it's water soluble. And I know in kind of skincare formulations and things, it can be quite tricky to stabilise. And also in supplements as well. And I was reading that, you know, if you take just a regular supplement, like, I don't know, a chewable vitamin C or a vitamin C, you know, tablet, actually the body can only absorb, I think, is a maximum of 500 milligrams, and everything else we just kind of wee away. So, you know, you've got to be either taking it continually to top it up, or look at something like liposomes, which is a totally different delivery system for the body.
Exactly. And, you know, of course, supplementation doesn't replace a healthy, balanced diet. But to get your necessary vitamin C, you'd have to eat a mountain of oranges every single day. And I discovered Altrient and the liposomal technology completely organically, probably 7 or 8 years ago now. I was starting to learn more about supplements, researching, and found it by chance. I think actually possibly even through Amazon. Read about it, tried it, loved it. And have since then been using it with my patients. But when you take any sort of normal supplement in a tablet form, there's a huge amount of bulking agent. There's a lot of what you take from a standard supplement will just pass straight through you. And the wonderful thing with the liposomal technology is the absorption of it is so high. I guess we should, the absorption of it is so high and the ingredient is protected, so you get really high levels into your bloodstream.
So let's talk about what liposomes are. I think many people might know them a little bit from skincare. As I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're little kind of microscopic bubbles filled with all sorts of goodness. So you can fill it. You can fill a liposome with anything. So it's a liposome is purely the delivery, the mechanical delivery of that little bubble that can have anything stuffed into it. And am I right in saying that it just goes straight into the body? So it doesn't kind of go through the gut. It doesn't get processed by the digestive system. It's just absorbed into our cells.
Exactly. And so the liposomes are made up of the same things as our cells' membranes. And so just as a cell membrane protects what's inside a cell, this protects what's inside the liposome from your digestive juices and means that they go straight to exactly what you said, into the cells where it needs to be.
So for example, the little sachets that I have of the Ultrient C, that's, I think, are they 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C per sachet? And, you know, we talked before about if you're having a normal supplement, the body will only take maximum of 500 milligrams. And, you know, bear in mind that a lot of these tablets and things will contain all sorts of fillers and stuff to you know, bind them together to make them into a tablet. But if you've got a liposome, you can get a whole gram of that vitamin C straight into your cells because it's not being digested and being excreted, you know, through the urinary tract.
Exactly, and 1,000 milligrams is just what we talk about. Actually, the benefit of having more is greater. So, but the limiting factor with normal supplements is bowel tolerance. So taking a lot of vitamin C in normal supplements can give you a really upset stomach.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, that doesn't happen. You can take as much as you want to take, and we know from the studies on the skin, for example, that one gives a great result, but if you can take 3 a day, that's really impressive.
Really? And how quickly would you see a difference then if you were taking, you know, like 3 grams a day of a liposome vitamin C?
I always say give everything 3 months before you judge things, but often much quicker. I mean, I'm taking 3 a day and have been for about a month now. I'd upped it from 1 a day. But we know on the studies that 3 a day leads to an increase in skin firmness of 61%, which is, I mean, there's very little that I ever see that leads to those sorts of increases. And this is something you're taking orally, you're not applying.
Wow. And so how is that measured? You know, we always talk about studies, and I'm always very careful because, you know, people talk about studies, it's like, yeah, but is it anecdotal? How did they measure? How many people, you know, over what time? I know you've got a background in anaesthesia and, you know, working as a proper doctor, you know, in the NHS. So, you know, I guess you're not going to be taken in by that or blinded by science. What kind of studies are we talking about here?
So, the studies we're talking about will be generally, they'll be scientifically controlled. So that's what's obviously really important, is having studies that are done by, and I'm not a research scientist, but I have done research in my time, but we're going back a few years now. So the studies will tend to be done through things like, for example, there are tools like elastometers, which measure the skin's elasticity. So of course you can go through what we call physician grading. We can go through the individual saying, yes, my skin looks and feels better. And that's sometimes where, as important as that is, when you look at some of the supermarket brands, for example, where it says 9 out of 10 women said this, that's not a clinical study.
No.
This is about having proper objective measurements
that's what we need.
That show the benefit. Nothing's, and the subjective thing can go alongside it, but that's opinion proof.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of vitamin C and skin, I'm very, very interested by this improvement in elasticity, because obviously that's something that we lose as we age. And, you know, anybody kind of perimenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal, you know, will be experiencing loss of elasticity. Is this something then that we can regain, or does it just halt the decline?
It's a little bit of both, actually. And it's, so we lose collagen from the age of 25 onwards. And actually the comment from someone, Pilates arc, about joint hypermobility is based on the same. Yeah. We have collagen. It's the most abundant protein in our whole body. And from the age of 25, we're losing 1 to 1.5% a year. And then we hit perimenopause, and that speeds up to 30% collagen loss in 5 years.
30% gone in 5 years. No wonder our skin just starts to go there.
Exactly. And even then thereafter, it continues at a quicker rate, so 2 to 2.5% a year. So whatever we can do, your body cannot make collagen without vitamin C. It's essential for collagen production. So by keeping your vitamin C levels high and then doing other things that will stimulate collagen production potentially alongside it, you can build collagen to an extent. You're never going to get it back up to your 25-year level, but you can build it to some extent.
Yeah. I've also read, looking at skin, and you'll know this as a doctor, that vitamin C is incredibly important for things like wound healing.
Very. And again, it's wound healing is collagen formation. That's literally all it is. That's how a wound heals and knits itself together. And so you need vitamin C to do it.
Being asked questions about things like absorption of iron in foods. I mean, presumably having more available vitamin C in the body is going to impact all the influences that vitamin C has, because it does increase iron availability, doesn't it? I mean, it has so many functions, vitamin C. It's like this kind of amazing master vitamin.
Exactly. Vitamin C, vitamin D are my kind of oral, like, one should be without them.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are lots and lots of different brands of vitamin C and liposomes in particular. And I've been tracking, and in fact, I think I mentioned this on one of my podcasts a few weeks ago, the news in the kind of supplement world of some legal action that's happened from brands claiming to use liposomes. And bear in mind, it's big technology, so it's expensive technology, and to stabilize it and to make it actually work, is an expensive thing. It's a real kind of biotech product. And certainly when you look on, the dreaded Amazon or, all these other online sites, you see a huge range in price differences, and you think, oh, actually, that'll be the same thing. I'll just get something that's a lot cheaper. But actually, when Trading Standards investigated, they tested a lot of brands and they found they didn't have any liposomes in them at all.
Exactly. And yet these products say liposomal technology. And I remember the start of COVID, I was trying to stock up on my Altrium that I've been taking for years, and I suddenly couldn't get any. And so I saw another brand, and I thought, I'll try that one. And it arrived, and it was completely different. And I knew straight away it wasn't what it claimed to be. But it's a very easy trap to fall into. And if you're buying something for the first time and you don't know how it should be, then you also don't know when it's not right. Yeah.
So that brings us very neatly on, I think, into ways that how we can tell that our liposome technology is the right thing. Now, I've got one here, my Blue Peter fashion. My lovely friend Anthe would be proud of me. Here's one I prepared earlier. This I've just put in. It's the contents of a sachet which has gone into a little bit of water, and you can see it hasn't dissolved. It's this kind of almost sort of jelly-like. And what I do, because I also have my glutathione like this, is I just sort of swill it around and then just knock it back. So I've read that one way you can test your liposomes is by putting them into a bit of water, and they shouldn't dissolve, should they?
No, you're completely right. That's how it should look. And I almost think of it a bit like an oyster, literally just straight down the hatch.
Gone. Yeah, delicious.
Exactly. and I actually put I put my vitamin C and my glutathione in one glass and shot them together.
Do you take them together?
And they don't mix because they're their own separate products, and it doesn't affect the bioavailability at all. But the one thing you do be careful with is caffeine. So don't take your vitamin C too close to having caffeine.
Okay, so not with my morning coffee. Take them separately. I do tend to take things separately. I know with fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin D and vitamin E, we're supposed to take it with a bit of fat in the meals. So, for example, I tend to have like scrambled eggs or something at kind of brunch. And that's when I'll take most of my vitamins, because I know that they need a bit of oil to be better absorbed. So I get more out of them, frankly. It just makes them work a bit harder. Do we need to do that with vitamin C as well?
No, it doesn't need it. It doesn't need it to be absorbed and to be effective. It's more that we're trying to prevent it from being denatured. I personally find it easiest and nicest to take on an empty stomach first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Some people aren't it depends on how prone to nausea you are. Some people find taking supplements on an empty stomach not good, but I don't know anyone who's difficult.
Yeah, amazing. And could we mix it in with food if we wanted? I'm just thinking about how to get it into my kids. They might not kind of like this little orange oyster at the bottom of my glass. You know, could I put it in some yogurt or something for them, do you think?
You know, I've never done that, and I don't know the actual answer, so I will double check with Altrient, and I will write a comment.
Okay, excellent.
But in principle, I can't see why it should be a problem.
Yeah, and we're being asked here about a cup of tea. It's what you're saying is the caffeine can interfere with it. So I guess if you've got a really strong, highly caffeinated cup of tea, that might be something to avoid.
Yeah, and so I would say half an hour or thereabouts is plenty, just enough to...
So you're not actually swallowing it with an espresso. I mean, that would be not the best way. I find it so fascinating, actually, how we get more out of our supplements, because I'm always after, you know, kind of good value. And, you know, good value to me is not necessarily always the cheapest, but it's the best, and the best for us. It's actually going to give us the most kind of bang for our buck, if you like. And putting things like olive oil onto green veg to increase the availability of the vitamin K, I think it is. It's just so fascinating because, you know, who knew that if you put a bit of, you know, butter on your broccoli or a bit of olive oil on your cabbage or whatever, that actually you make it more nutritious, isn't it? It's great, isn't it, to have these little hacks that actually can make us healthier without actually being any more difficult to do.
No, they're not more difficult, and actually olive oil on some vegetables makes it taste even better.
Yeah.
So it's a real positive.
Yeah, we're talking about Altrient. Yeah, amazing. Getting lots of questions and lots of comments. I know, Rachel, thank you very much. You can pop things on Facebook, but obviously we can't link, but we will make sure. How do we contact you on Instagram particularly? Because I know a lot of questions are being asked on Instagram.
So my Instagram is Dr. So Dr. Sophie Schotter, spelled SHOTTER. And you can find me over there. But I will also make sure that we're monitoring any questions that come in on the Altrient account as well.
Altrient, okay, great. And that's also on Instagram, is it? Oh, Altrient, they're already watching because they've said it can be folded gently into yogurt. Excellent. Oh, thank you very much for answering that one, guys. Hopefully it works with kefir as well. That's my favourite. Marcia is saying, I found that vitamin C has softened my skin. Another question here from Ali is saying, why is vitamin K important, please? That's a really interesting question because I know that people with vitamin D supplements, it's often combined with vitamin K. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, K is one of our fat-soluble vitamins, and it's important for blood clotting in particular. But if you take a lot of vitamin D, then with time, it will deplete your levels of other fat-soluble vitamins, so A, K, and E, which is why you'll find a lot of supplements starting to mix D and K, and some that are even mixing D, A, K, and E.
Gosh. It's fascinating. I mean, Altrient is a brand that I've been watching for a while, and I know that Alice Hart-Davis, who's one of the contributors at Earle Wellbeing magazine, she writes brilliantly on tweakments. So if anybody's into having their faces tweaked, that's, you know, very much your world as well. She writes a great column for us, and I think she did 3 months, didn't she, on the Altrient C. Sachets, and you know she's so convinced, and she's a real kind of old school hardcore journalist. I remember working with her decades ago. I think she was at the Evening Standard for a while when I first met her, and then she's written for the Times and all sorts, and it takes quite a lot to convince old Alice that, you know, something is really going to work. And you know, she definitely has seen a big change and has stocked up on it, which, you know, I think is also really interesting, because when you're spending your own money, and you know, brands will often give you things to try because they'll want you to, you know, have a little bit of experiment. But you know, if you're going to keep buying them for yourself year after year, those are the ones that you really respect. You know, the ones that are in my cupboard and have been now for a long time are the ones that I do actually, you know, shell out for. And even though people will send me other things, I'll say, well, thank you very much, that's really nice, but I just bought this because that's the one that I trust. and that I want.
Exactly.
And in fact, my funny story, I use the Ultrient glutathione. I use two actually. I use Youth and Earth and I use Ultrient. When I was in Nairobi with my son, I ran out of my glutathione, so I went into, there's a great brand of health shops here called Healthy You. So I went in and I saw lots of different types, and there were kind of tablets and things. I thought, no, I don't want that. I want liposomal. So I found some of the Ultrient sachets, which I bought. But do you know, they were £6.50 each. I know. I mean, we think it's expensive in the UK. I mean, I picked up a whole box because that's what I normally get for, I don't know, £25-30 or whatever. And it was £120. So I kind of quickly put that down and thought, oh no, I'll just buy a few. But the sachets, I have to say, great for travelling, or if you want to take it now and then, or you want to, you know, top somebody up. Maybe you've got a student at uni who's feeling a bit under the weather, and you're just thinking, actually, I just need to give somebody a bit of a boost. You can actually divide the sachets up and then take them with you, which I find really useful.
They're so handy, and again, when I fly, I like to really dose up on my vitamin C above and beyond. I always used to catch a cold whenever I went on a plane, and now I kind of just a week before start taking more vitamin C, more Ultrient, and I don't get them anymore. So really handy for that, and then taking it while I'm away ahead of flying home.
Interesting. And of course, you know, we're all concerned about coughs and colds and flu bugs and more at the moment. The link with vitamin C and the immune system, it's pretty strong, isn't it?
Strong. It's one of a small handful of things. Vitamin C, again, vitamin D, crucial for immunity, and zinc. And, you know, if you notice the earlier start of a cold, if you start taking extra Ultrients, you know, you can take 8 sachets a day in this situation. You can't overdose. It's possible to overdose. You will, in my experience, have less symptoms of your cold and flu come out.
How fascinating.
Not eradicated, but it won't ever turn as bad as you think it's going to.
Gosh, that is so interesting. And what I like about these high doses is the protective effect that there is on the gut. As you were saying, you know, I think maybe we've all perhaps overdone it. You know, you can buy vitamin C powder that you put into drinks, and, you know, you can, I've done it myself, overloaded in the past, and, you know, really ended up with a very upset, runny tummy and thought, oh no, I wish I hadn't done that.
Yeah.
But because of the liposome technology again, it kind of bypasses that.
Yeah, you get none of that with this.
Really fascinating. So in terms then of collagen, because let's go back and talk about kind of aging. I know that's a big area of interest for a lot of people here. Does vitamin C work alongside collagen? You know, if we're taking collagen supplements or we're interested in renewing our collagen, how does that work in the body?
You'll notice a lot of collagen supplements on the market now come with vitamin C in it, because not all of them, but many. Is the brands are realising, actually, if you want to induce your body to make collagen, you need the vitamin C. But if whichever collagen you're taking doesn't have it added, then do look at taking a sachet of vitamin C with your collagen.
Interesting. And is there any age restriction on this? I mean, or are there any kind of contraindications? Should we be thinking about dosing our kids up, particularly if they're, you know, at school and being exposed to, you know, the normal immune function of catching coughs and colds and things like that? You know, is there a benefit for youngsters here?
Yes, very much. One thing I will always say with children, if they're sort of 12 and above, you can essentially treat them like an adult. But with younger children, with vitamin C, it's impossible to overdose. You really can't. But I would always say take supplements specifically designed for children. Yeah. I'm very careful about my advice on that. But in teenagers, and I do think we should be, our diets are not what they used to be. The soil that we're growing vegetables in is not what it was in the 50s when nutrient values were derived.
Interesting point.
We all
those nutrient tables, they were devised in the 50s, weren't they? You know, and you think of all those decades, what's that, 60, 70 years of intensive farming and how that takes the nutrients out of the soil. Wouldn't that be really interesting to redo all those values and see what's happened to the nutrient level in food?
And based on live a perfect lifestyle, 8 hours of sleep a night, you never drink, you don't smoke, you don't get sun exposure, you know, and you're eating 20 20 different types of vegetables a day. You're not getting
I did try. Those of you who looked at my Instagram this morning, that's very appropriate you should say that, because I was talking to Tim Spector, Professor Spector, and he was saying, eat 30 types of plants a week. That's his challenge. And I thought, do you know what, Tim? I'm going to do that in a day. So I managed to get 20 types of veg on my plate for lunch. But that does include herbs and spices. So, I had like 3 different herbs, parsley, which is also very, full of vitamin C, and, and turmeric and things like that. So, once you add all those things in, I think in terms of the actual vegetables, there's probably maybe like 12, different types of carrots and radishes and cabbage and broccoli and fennel and onions and, all of that. So, you can do it, but it's an effort.
Hard.
It's an effort. Yeah.
Yeah, very hard.
Yeah. And of course, the other thing that happens with food storage is that it loses its vitamin C. So, the apples, for example, that might have been harvested when they were ripe back in, September, October, maybe in the UK, and have been in cold store, so that they make it onto the supermarket shelves now in March, a lot of that vitamin C will have been lost through storage. So again, when you look it up on a food table and you go, oh, that apple, that's giving me, 90 milligrams of vitamin C. Yeah, but is it? Probably not. Not if it's out of season. Same with strawberries. We shouldn't be eating strawberries right now, not in the UK, because they'll have been flown in from somewhere, they'll have been depleted of nutrients. So it's kind of, it's really, it's fooling us in a way. It lulls us into a false sense of security. I'm not saying don't try and eat well, because obviously we need that for so many different reasons. And that should always be the starting point. But, don't think that we can just do it with that, because particularly as we age, I think that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, for my community here, for the majority, we are, in our second half, the better half, I like to think. But, better in some ways, but physically we need to be aware, as you say, that we're making less collagen, we have less muscle mass, we have less bone density, we're less able to produce things like NMN and all those nutrients, collagen has gone. It's tricky, isn't it? Which is why I've become such a believer in supplements. Because I used to take loads when I was young. Remember first working as a journalist and nutrition was just beginning to be talked about. We're going back kind of 30 years. And I was, taking huge amounts of supplements because it just seemed so interesting and new. And then I kind of went away from it and thought, well, actually, no, I'm going to get everything from my diet. But as I've got older, and I think we've become more knowledgeable, haven't we, and more specific, things like liposomal technology, which we didn't have before.
No.
That is...
it moves forwards, research and development, and, we're very lucky we're living in an age where science is moving forwards leaps and bounds and is becoming far more accessible to all of us.
Yeah, and I think, one of the big issues, and I've spoken to Dr. Rupi about this, who has the Doctor's Kitchen, is that doctors aren't trained in nutrition. And it'd be interesting to hear your perspective. So you're a medically trained doctor. How many weeks and months did you spend in your 7 years of training talking about nutrition?
Very little. And I think personally the future is lifestyle medicine. It's this understanding of using our lifestyle and how we live and what we eat and what we do and how we exercise and our environment to prevent medical conditions rather than always sticking plasters on things when they go wrong.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to see the rise of kind of so-called functional medicine. And these medics who we can go and see and check in with, whose job is to keep us well. So we actually kind of see them when we're well, to stop us from degenerating and falling apart, rather than seeing them when something's happened and then just getting a pill to try and fix it without actually looking at what's caused it in the first place. I mean, I know it's going to be a big switch and it's going to take time, and the pharmaceutical industry are perhaps not heavily invested in taking us off medication so much, But I think hopefully there is more of that happening, isn't there? And I think, you know, we've just realised that there is this crisis looming, particularly with us getting older, the population getting older, and we want to, you know, we want to be well, don't we?
Absolutely. We really need to focus on health preservation, because it's not just about living longer, it's about living better. Who wants to live to a ripe old age if we're not living well in that era? So, yeah.
We need function, you know, we need function, we need to be able to move, get up out of our chairs, enjoy the surroundings where we live. We need cognitive function, brain health. Yeah. Actually, interesting, I've just got some of the stats up here looking at what vitamin C does. And in terms of energy and the metabolism, it's really important if we're exercising, vitamin C. So I'm not a gym bunny, but I do try and do a bit of, you know, movement, a little bit of HIIT now and then, especially first thing in the morning. Yeah. It's also really important for our mood and our mind. Yeah. So I've got notes here that says it helps with the normal functioning of the nervous system and psychological function. So all that stuff that's going on in the brain. And then we've talked about skin, but also things like gums, cartilage, bones, blood vessels, teeth. I mean, it's everywhere, isn't it? Flipping heck, our vitamin C. And of course, immune system. And then in terms of aging, one of the first books I wrote actually on nutrition, this is going back, well, let's think, how old is Lily? She's 31, so going back like 28 years maybe, was called the ACE plan, vitamins A, C and E, and I looked specifically obviously at vitamin C, and it was really looking at free radicals. Everyone back then was talking about free radical cell damage and the oxidative stress that can trigger so many types of degenerative diseases and aging. And actually increasing our levels of antioxidants like vitamin C can protect us. Would you think, I mean, I haven't actually looked specifically at that area of research now for, well, probably a couple of decades, but that seems to have been borne out, doesn't it, over the last few years?
Absolutely. And different antioxidants will protect us from different environmental insults. So vitamin C is particularly good at protecting us from sunlight.
Oh, good. Well, I need lots of that here then. I'm going to be taking so much more. I mean, forget the one packet a day. I'm going to be on 3 if it's good enough for you. So can it actually help protect against sun damage then, do you think?
Yeah, so we know vitamin C particularly is, and it will make, so topical vitamin C will make your sunscreen more effective.
I didn't know that. Did you guys know that? I didn't know that. So what do we do then? We use like a vitamin C serum and then put a sunscreen on top?
And your sunscreen on top, yeah.
Oh, good tip.
And that's its big strength is with vitamin C is photo damage, and then there were other antioxidants will protect you from pollution or from other types of free radical insult.
Fascinating. Sophie, I could talk to you all day. Will you come back and talk to us again? Because I wish I'd had my pencil and paper actually. I'm going to have to revisit this and make a note of all the things and definitely start topping up with the liposomal. Really, really interesting. And just to say that if anybody's interested in that court case, I know that there's information on the Altrient website about it, because Trading Standards did definitely find in the company's favour, didn't they? And say, you've just got to be careful. You know, what they say, caveat emptor, is it buyer beware? It's, and really buy from trusted sources.
And it's, for me, it's, you know, healthy competition is great. And, you know, Altrient will say, you know, there are some other brands that do have effective liposomes. Yeah. And it's great because more and more people are able to access the technology, but a lot of the products claiming it are not genuine, and I'm really
don't waste your money then, because then it's just money down the drain, literally, or down the loo. I mean, it's just there's just no point. You know, if you're going to buy it, buy the proper stuff, or don't buy it. You know, that would be the kind of my advice. Bottom line.
Exactly, and take less of it if you need to, but still buy the proper stuff. But getting a good effect from it. Yeah, and take it when you need to. Absolutely. Sophie, brilliant. Just remind us your contacts again. Remind us the website and your Instagram, because I know there's going to be lots of questions coming your way. I'm on Dr. Sophie Shotter on Instagram. so at Dr. Sophie Shotter, and my website is drsophieshotter.com.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, and I hope the sun stays shining where you are.
Take care.
Lovely to chat. Thank you. Bye-bye. You're going to have to click off, because if I press that little button, then I think I lose everybody. That's so interesting. Oh, I love my guests. Always learn so much. I didn't know that about vitamin C. Got to get some vitamin C serum. Maybe I'll get some of that Beauty Pie serum. I know people are talking about Beauty Pie, because we do have a discount on Beauty Pie if you've not yet joined. I think you get £10 off your membership if you use Liz Loves. And yes, absolutely, Charlotte, there is a discount. Thank you. On Ultrient. 10%. Every little helps. Liz Loves. Very good indeed. Gosh, so many reasons to be taking it. I have recorded a podcast with Dr. Levy, who's actually a cardiologist in America. You'll find it on the podcast archives. And he also has a connection to Ultrient. But a lot of his research is fascinating, so do take a listen if you would like that. Oh, it's Liz Loves 10. I'm sorry, I'm just being reminded by my team. Liz Loves 10 is the discount, okay? Not just Liz Loves, but Liz Loves 10. There we go. Thank you very much. Interesting what Dr. Sophie was saying about collagen and about how the two work together, because as you know, I'm a big fan of Ingenious Beauty collagen. In fact, I've got mine with me. I was going to get some out to show you, but it doesn't look very attractive. This is actually what I travel with. And I've actually got two things in here which I've mixed together just to save space in my suitcase. So the white ones are my Amino Slim, and my pink ones are Ingenious Beauty. I actually wrote it on here, Amino Slim, so I could remember what the white ones are. The Ingenious actually have Ingenious written on them. And you can get, if you want these, then we do also have a Liz Loves on Ingenious Beauty, and that's 20% on Ingenious Beauty. So that's what I take with my glutathione and my increasing amounts of vitamin C. And of course, talking about health and vitamins, I was reminded of the challenge that was set to me by Professor Dawn Sim, the wonderful professor of ophthalmology who joined us this time last week. And she works out of UCL and Moorfields Eye Hospital, world-renowned eye institutions, performing eye surgery day after day. Wasn't she brilliant? And anyway, she set me a challenge to be taking my eye vitamins, which I have been doing, Professor Dawn, I'm not sure if you're watching. But these have got a little bit of vitamin C in them, interesting, but also carotenoids. She was talking about lutein and zeaxanthin, along with zinc, and the maqui berry. Were you paying attention? Maqui berry. Was it Peru or Chile that it comes from? Chile. There you go, I'm reading it on here. Wow, it says here, it's native berry that grows in the wild forest of Patagonia in Chile. How interesting. I think I need to go and explore. So yeah, the maqui berry, very interesting ingredients, and that's a very dark purple berry. And it's interesting, isn't it? I've talked to other doctors and medics on here before about the benefits of these dark purple berries in particular. So things like blueberries, hascat berries. Boo the Cockapoo says, thanks for the eye health chat. I suffer with chronic dry eyes. Have just started the eye vitamins and the spray. Yeah, so have I. I've got the spray here. This is MTHK. There is a Liz Loves discount on that. I think it's 10%. Yeah, 10% off, just with Liz Loves. And what Professor Sim said, there are two little bottles in here, is you have to spray it, I think with closed eyes, wasn't it? It was about 10 inches away. And you just do 2 sprays and then open your eyes, and it's something to do with the way that the eyes pull in that spray. So if you do have dry eyes, it's such a common condition, particularly for women as we age, as we lose estrogen, everything dries up. It's like all the moisture gets sucked out from all sorts of cells, and that includes the eyes. So eye health, particularly, I think, for midlife women, really, really good. And this has been developed by the ophthalmologists at Moorfields. And they started this company called MTHK, which stands for something amazing, which I can't remember. What was it? Medical Health something or other. Anyway, health and, I don't know, somebody will have to remind me what it stands for. Anyway, mthk.com is where you can find the eye spray and the eye vitamins. And Professor Sim, I have been doing my homework. You said to me, take 2 of these every day for a fortnight and see how my eye health improves. That's not long, is it? 2 weeks. There you go. Anyway, I'm halfway through. The other thing that I am taking at the moment, which I've got out here, is my Indie supplements. Do you remember Indie? So I have actually packed this with me. It shows how much I love it because it's quite a big container to take in my luggage. And that's the powder. So I have that in my morning shake, in my smoothie. And I've got Kit out here at the moment, so I'm going to be making one for him a little bit later on. So we do still have the Liz Loves on Indie supplements. That's 15% off all their supplements. Love their powders. I know there's been lots of chat about protein powder. This one has got pea protein, so that is all the pea protein. And then these are all the other ingredients as well, including Montmorency cherry, blackcurrant and Hascat berry. So more blackberries, yeah? More. Yeah, and the body Indie now comes in sachets. I know, so great. They did it after I left the country. That wasn't very kind, was it? So I had to take the big tubs with me. But definitely, certainly for any of us who are travelling off this summer, I think the sachets are genius. Absolutely genius. Yeah, do go and get your eyes checked. Louise, no, it doesn't taste like peas. It tastes, well, it's got coconut water in it and pomegranate and lemon and blackcurrant, so it's slightly fruity. But to be honest, I mix it with so many things. I shove everything into a smoothie. I chuck kefir in there. I put my Bimuno supplement. I put a bit of greens powder in there as well, a bit of chlorella. You know, I mean, just have whatever's going. I chuck it in. Everyone is different. Sometimes I throw in some ground almonds because I really like that in my smoothie. It gives it a bit of extra protein. I quite like the texture. So, yeah, no, I highly recommend it. I love them, actually, Indie. They're a really lovely husband and wife team who've developed that. The other thing that I've discovered out here, and this is completely on a different subject altogether, is I was having to buy toothbrushes for my kids because they came out here and of course they forget their toothbrush. It's like, how can you forget your toothbrush? Wasn't that the name of a show, actually? Wasn't that Chris Evans, Don't Forget Your Toothbrush, with my lovely friend Gabby Roslin? I'm not sure whether she was doing that. But anyway, so I was going to buy toothbrushes and I came across these, and I know we can get them in the UK, but I just love the packaging. I wanted to share it with you. So these are wooden handled bamboo toothbrushes. I took a lovely pic, actually, of Brella, who's got like the widest smile. Honestly, she's got a watermelon smile. It just splits her face when she smiles, and I took a picture of her. So these come in over here anyway. They're made by a company called Green Thing. I know you can go online and find bamboo toothbrushes, but I just love the packaging. It says on here, it says "Grin responsibly. One less plastic waste in Dandora dump site." And Dandora dump site is on the edge of town, and it's a huge, huge pit of plastic, burning plastic. I've podcasted about the perils of burning plastic before with Tear Fund, actually, who do a lot of work in that area. And it says here, it talks about it on the packaging. I'll just read it to you. It says, "Every plastic toothbrush that you and I have ever used," listen to this, quite sobering, "is still lying around somewhere. Might be in the ocean, negatively affecting our wildlife. This toothbrush is a vote for a more circular Kenya and world." So I'm obviously in Kenya. So that's the one that's being sold here. And it says it's bamboo handle, low waste toothbrush. But that's quite a sobering thought, isn't it? Think of how many toothbrushes you've bought over the years. You know, I'm in my 50s and I buy them for my kids. And how many toothbrushes? We've piled them all up together. Where are they now? So one simple change that we can make is to get a wooden or bamboo handled toothbrush and stop that whole cycle. Who's saying I look hot? Yeah, I am. I am flipping hot. I'm sorry. I didn't want to rub it in, but I am. I'm on the equator in the middle of the day, boiling. I feel like I'm having a menopausal moment, but I wouldn't be because I'm full of estrogen, so I don't get those. Thank you, Jackie. You said I'm glowing. Yes, darling, I'm glowing, aren't I? That is just about it for today. Just a quick reminder, actually, talking about the immune system. Leapfrog Immune. Don't travel without this. This is, again, my mainstay. I'm not taking it at the moment because I feel super well. But the minute something comes to attack me, this is what I get. This is what I get out. And I was with my lovely friend Carol, who lives down on the coast. And I was with her the other day. I took a picture, actually. I'll pop it on my Instagram. Because these packages arrived, all kind of bound up. And they came on a boat, because she lives on the coast. So I said, oh, what's all that? That looks interesting. You know, what have you got there? And she said, oh, this is all stuff I've ordered from the UK. So I said, oh, let's take a look. So we were unpacking it. And honestly, 3 packets of this were in there. I kid you not. I said, Carol, have you done this just because I'm here? And she said, no, I promise you, it takes weeks to come. So she got her strong nutrients, her magnesium. Don't know if you're watching this, Carol. I'm sending you a massive heart if you are. I thought it was so funny. Your protein powder to put in your shakes in the morning. What else did you have in there? Did you have your hair care? I can't remember. But honestly, it was really funny. Anyway, I took a picture of Carol undoing her boxes, the other side of the world, still using her Liz Loves, I'll have you know, and having it sent out to her here. Absolutely brilliant. Nice to see you. Thank you. Thank you for all your lovely comments. Yeah, Nikki says don't do without leapfrog. Totally, having discussed it. So lots of evidence-based studies on leapfrog. I've podcasted. I hope you're all listening to my Friday 5 podcast because I kind of throw in a bit more data that I found during the week. If I'm talking about something here on my lives, I'll often go and then look up some more studies and reference them. There was a very interesting new study on COVID and lactoferrin particularly. I think it was researchers, were they in Michigan? I think. I'll have to look at my notes again. But yeah, they're definitely well worth listening to. And of course, interestingly, this says on it, it's lactoferrin with zinc. And guess what else? Vitamin C. Yeah, it's a sign, isn't it? It's a sign that we should all be topping up on our vitamin C. Who is enjoying their magazine before I go? I feel very left out. I feel very left out of the loop here. I have not seen a printed copy of my beautiful magazine. I've seen it online and I've seen pictures of it. Thank you very much, everyone who's tagging me and sharing pictures on Facebook and Instagram particularly. Lovely to see where my magazine ends up. I am so excited to be getting back home and actually picking up the physical copy. I think there's nothing like having that tangibility of a magazine that you can just sit and curl up with. It's not the same as it just curling up with an iPad or a phone. You want to just put those screens away. As Professor Sim was saying, not so good for our eyes. Let's start reading the printed page. If you've yet to subscribe, we do still have these. I'm sorry, my box is looking tattier and tattier every time I get it out. The Drops of Balance, Life Armour. In fact, I might just have a few of those. These are from another great British brand, Life Armour, that do adaptogenic herbs. Ashwagandha and all sorts of goodies in here. Anyway, that comes free with your subscription of the magazine at the moment. So I hope that you all have that and are enjoying it. Lovely to be with you today, taking a dive into what we can do on the inside. Always try and do a bit of inside out. Those of you who followed me for so many decades will know that it's always been about inside out. Started off writing about health and beauty and supplements and nutrition. My first book was about essential fatty acids and oils and all the things that we take. Went off and wrote books about antioxidants like ACE Plan, vitamins A, C and E, all of those. Obviously had a massive detour with my beauty company, which I'm not connected to any longer, but got very much involved with what we put on the surface of the skin, and now kind of going back much more into rounded wellness. Bit of on the outside, bit of on the inside. The two come together and create a bit of beauty for all of us in the widest sense. Oh, thanks, team. You've just reminded me that these lovely people, the I people, MTHK, stands for Making Technology Humankind. There you go, mthk.com. So I'm going to be back with you live, guys, on Tuesday. And because we were inside beauty and health, Tuesday we're going to be outside. And I'm going to be talking about something fascinating, which I have looked at for a while, but I've always thought looked a bit scary, if I'm honest. I want to know more about it. We're going to be talking about microneedling and cryotherapy for the skin, no less. Yeah, Olivia Wilson. And we do have a Liz Loves on that. So go and take a look at her website if you want to, but listen to what we talk about, because she's going to be showing us some very interesting facial techniques and tips using cryotherapy, so really cold on the face. I look forward to that out here especially. And then micro needling, fascinating stuff. So, and we're going to be demoing and doing all of that. So that's live on Tuesday. If you're watching me in real time and it's Thursday, don't forget that tomorrow is podcast day. So it's the Friday 5 that will be coming out. We did have a new episode that went up last night, I think Wednesday, of the Earle Wellbeing show. Pretty sure that was all about low carb eating. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was one of my longer formats, which I recorded a few weeks ago. So yeah, perhaps just my team can just confirm that. And Rachel, do you mind popping a link to that, please, on Facebook? Really, really interesting. These medics who, yeah, low carb with Dr. Linda. Fascinating stuff. If you're into all of that, if you're thinking about going high fat, low carb, or wondering what all the fuss is about and what the medics think of low carb, she's great. Top doctor. She joined me, I think she was on the west coast of America when we spoke. I know I had to speak to her quite late in the day because she was just getting up in the morning. But fascinating. I love it, the way that technology can connect us across different time zones, different places, and we can all join together and share some of this global goodness that is coming out. Thank you so much. Oh, Cheryl, I'm 65. Is that too old to help? No, of course not. Never too old, particularly with skin. You know, our skin cells change every 28 days. That's why I love things like collagen supplements and, you know, the vitamin C and all the things that we can do to make a difference. Very interesting. Although having said that, I did a very interesting podcast with a young nutritionist, Sarah Ann Macklin. That's coming out tomorrow. Take a listen, the Friday 5, because she had some very sage advice about B12. Anybody who's lacking in B12, I'm talking particularly about vegans, plant-based eaters. If you go without B12 for many years, then it can cause damage to some of the vessels in the brain, which can't be repaired. So that was quite a salutary lesson. So do take a listen. She's an amazing young woman. That's going live tomorrow on the podcast. Anyway, I'm going to stop now. I think I've whittled on for long enough. Lovely to have you all with me. Thank you. Please stay tuned on Tuesday. This time on Tuesday, I will be there talking about microneedling and cryotherapy for the face. Can't wait for that. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you all. Thanks for all your positive comments. Great to have you with me. Such a special community. Thank you. Sending lots of hearts back. Bye-bye.